Good evening, everyone, and thank you for having me here. Today, I'm going to present my work. I decided to look into Hadza Auxiliary verbs and try to find the cognitive forces behind them and behind their grammaticalization. So I start by showing you my references. For the cognitive forces and grammaticalization part, I used a monography by Eine, which is called Auxiliaries, and is dated 1993. And for the Hadza data, I used a sketch of grammar of Hadza grammar and a dictionary of lexicon and etymology, and also some data gathered by Griscom and Harvey. And these are data of reported and analyzed speech. So first of all, I would like to talk about what Eine defines an auxiliary. He actually identifies a lot of criteria to talk about an auxiliary verb. I just put 4 of them here, which are the first 4 one, just to give you an idea. And I think even if they are just 4, they are really relevant in our situation because, for example, we can see the first one that talks about an expression of tense, aspect, and modality, but also expression of negation, and we will see that happens in Hadza. And also, I think that also point C is really relevant in Hadza because we have some verbs that are, for example, aka, we will see, it's still a verb, not fully an auxiliary. So it's not clear whether it is just lexical or if the process of grammaticalization has already started. Also, Eine identifies what are called event schemas. Event schemas are abstract, and they're a way to make concrete what is abstract. They are basically some building blocks in the mind of the speaker, just to like make concrete something that happens in his mind. So, like, for example, the act of being, of moving, or of being in a certain location. It proposes a lot of event schemas, but I put here just the ones that I found relevant for my work, which are motion, action, serial, and posture schema. As you can see, except for the posture schema, all of the others, also the ones that I didn't put here, follow what are and use what are called entities, which you can see here identified as letters, for example, X, Y, and Z. And they are really important because the action here involves a predicate, but also its participant, and we can see what happens in the mind of the speaker. So then we have this table that some of you will definitely know. I took this from the grammar made by Harvey, but for those of you who know this table, you will notice that I put 2 more verbs, which are the 2 directional verbs, which were not present in the original one. They are not full auxiliaries yet, but since I could identify the pattern behind their use, I decided to still analyze them. And so you can see them here in this table. So to start, I show you the motion schema. I talked about the motion schema, and the cognitive process behind it is that an entity moves from to another. This motion schema is used in a lot of languages. For example, English itself uses it when we say, I am going to do something. So I use verbs of motion, basically come or go. And they are usually used to make the future or the past, as it happens, for example, in French, with je viens de for the past and je vais for the future. In Hadza, we don't really have that fully auxiliary used yet, but we have two verbs that I found interesting, which are za, which is used as a directional. So I use this auxiliary to talk about something happening while going in the direction of the speaker, so towards speaker. And it comes from the verb za, which, no surprise, it means to come, sorry. And we also have aka, which you can see here, and it actually is used to do the opposite thing, so to say that we are going away from the direction of the speaker, and it comes from the verb aka, to go, and as you can see, it is certainly less grammatically than za, because it appears as a full verb here. And also this is used when we want to introduce a new topic in our narration. Then I identified the location schema, and this is the cognitive force behind it. So being at a certain event in a certain space. I identified this, but I think this is a bit controversial. I'm not really sure about this thing, because I put qua here, which has two major functions in Hadza, and it means it expresses conditional and also relative use. It could come from the verb qua, which means to give, but also from the suffix qua, which is used to be attached to demonstrative. But I put it here because of the relative use, because I thought that maybe the pattern behind it is in the place in which something happens, but I'm not really sure about qua. Then I talk about the action schema, which for Heine is one of the most important ones, which is basically an entity does something. The action schema is actually really productive in languages, because it can use a lot of verbs. So, for example, verbs that mean to take, to do, but also to finish or to refuse to do something. And this use, in particular, with verbs such as refusing or not doing, are used a lot for the negative auxiliaries, so to mark the negative verb. Here we have asda, that uses aqua, which comes from the verb meaning to not to do something, not have something. So as you can see here, it is used as a negative auxiliary, exactly as we expected. So this auxiliary actually fits perfectly in this cognitive pattern. We also have e, which is it has a subjunctive use. This auxiliary is really interesting. It can have two origins. The first one being the preposition for the conjunction for and also, but also the verb to say, which is also e, to tell. I think this second origin may be most probable, because it could we could identify a subcategory of the action schema that is called the purpose schema. And I think this is useful here because, for example, if you see example 4, we have let's go so that you guys can see. So it's like a purpose of our going. So I think this is the most correct pattern behind it. Also, we can see that it does not only have this function, but also in 5, it is used to express something that is expected, something that is correct to do in a certain situation. And also in 6, we can see that it expresses durative meaning. And then we have the serial schema that is used to identify events that happen in sequence. So as you can see, For example, in the cognitive pattern behind it, we have more than two entities. And I identified the use of the sequential in a lot of Hadza auxiliaries. So, for example, we have ha. For ha, I don't have anything particular to say because it follows the pattern that we expect. It is used, it comes from a, which is the way of saying with, also, and. So it's no surprise that it is made it is used to mark the sequential. And also we have yeah, which is also used to mark the sequential, and the origin are the same ones that I identified for e. So the verb to tell and to say, but also it could be and with also. For this in particular, I think that because of its sequential meaning, it could be more probable for it to be the conjunction. And then I present to you the posture schema, which does not use entities, as I was saying before. It is the way one's body is situated. So, for example, we use a lot of verbs that mean to stand or to stop in this kind of pattern, of cognitive pattern. And we have one example in Hadza, which is ka, that comes from the verb ka, which means to stand, to stop, as I said. And we can see that it can be used in the positive sense to make the sequential. So it is something after doing something else. But if we have a negative auxiliary, as you can see, we have acque, it is used to say that something didn't happen, but it usually does. So I expected something to happen, but it didn't. So we have, but it didn't come out, but it means that usually it does. Usually I expect for it to do so. So I ended my paper with these results. I made this table that provides the auxiliary verb, the semantics behind it, the schema label that I could identify behind it, and the possible sources and origin of them. As you can see, I'm pretty positive about my results, but as I was saying before, I am still a bit uncertain of the location behind the relative and conditional qua. So this was all I had to say. So thank you very much for listening. And if you have any questions, I am ready to answer them.
Thank you very much, Giulia. We can stop the share if you would like, or we can leave it open just in case people want to jump to different slides. I see that Mauro has a question, so please, Mauro, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. First of all, thank you, Andrew, for your kind words. And I have a small question to Giulia. I would like to know if about the motion schema, you have encountered any use of moving there and moving here in a more metaphorical sense, in the sense of doing something to your benefit and against to do something to your detriment, against you, because we have lots of similar things, mostly clitics in other languages, in Afroasiatic language, as far as I know. And more general, I have a question to Andrew or everybody. Do we have any, ideally a map or a general survey of these couples of things here, there? I call them ventive and allative. I call them sometimes in and out, centrifugal and centripetal. Do we have any general idea of their use and extension over the continent? Thank you.
Giulia,
Okay.
any thoughts?
I just wanted to say I did not encounter those kind of uses, but the data were a lot, so I just focused on what was more like what I needed more. So I don't know. I think Professor Harvey has maybe encountered them since he works with them, but I didn't find any.
Thanks, Giulia. So I haven't in my just sort of immediately, just off the top of my head, I haven't encountered any benefactive or malefactive extensions of these directionals. But I haven't looked either, and so I appreciate the comment because now it sort of reminds us, okay, to keep an eye out for this and to see if it does show up in the data. Like you said, Mauro, it's not entirely rare or impossible given the languages in the larger area. Um, yeah, so I think that that's interesting. In terms of the larger question, do we have anything continent-wide on these ventive and allative encodings and words? I don't know of any. Anybody else in the room have
Well,
any
certainly we've had studies in nilotic.
Yes, of
Uh,
course. So Bonnie has put two works from Doris Payne, and of course we have work in the immediate area on the Datoga languages from Roland Kiesling and his study group as well on associated motion and motion to and from. Yes. Tom, I don't know if you have something to add to this or if it's a separate question.
No, it's not a separate question. It was just adding that there is, who's interested, quite a lot of work on serial verbs with the same dichotomy in West Africa and Southern Africa. And then again, Bernd Heine has written various articles on this phenomenon. So who is interested, I can contact me. I can send you some literature I
I
think is quite precious for addressing it.
And I see that Bonnie has added another reference from Aisha Belkadi, associated motion in constructions in African languages. So that sounds like it's a more review kind of work. That's great. And thank you, Tom, for that contribution. Do we have any other questions?
Well, I was going to add that Gregory Anderson has done some surveys of auxiliary constructions in African languages. It's more on the morphological structure, but he actually cites some Hadza data there, so you might be interested in taking a look at those, at least in the article he does.
And Bonnie has added two
In
different resources from Gregory Anderson in the
And
chat.
that article is really long, so the Tanzanian Rift Valley languages are on these pages.
Yeah, it's a heck of an article, but I would think, Julia, if you'd wanted to go a little bit further with this, that would certainly be the
Yes,
next thing to look at if you were interested.
On the ka that you mentioned there at the end, that comes from the verb to stand. It occurred to me that I you went by the example kind of fast, but to stand or be still, I think the English word still, well, still didn't come out. That might have that same kind of counter expectational meaning to it, right? He didn't come out. So that
yes,
might be a kind of similar um, pattern of being still.
yes. I think that's a really good suggestion. Probably yes. It could also be that.
And then I
Thank
had
you.
another question on your example 6. I noticed that the tone on the purpose marker, the subjunctive, was different. And I wondered if you had anything to say, because you do say it's a high tone, and is that the so clitic that changes the tone, or do you know what's going on with
I
that?
don't know. I think Professor Harvey will answer that.
Anyway,
And
I
Prof.
think
Harvey doesn't have a good answer for that right now. I'm looking at it with perplexity. But we need Jeremy Coburn in the room here, or I need to go back to how I originally wrote it.
well, the reason why I'm wondering is because this e is very similar in looking to our a placeholder term, and we hadn't considered this as a possible source for the placeholder, but in the sense that this means like that or such that, such and such is a way of a placeholder term. So it's something that we should consider for as a possible source for that. But anyway, I think this is a great paper, and it certainly is something that you could work on and publish. I think coming.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Giulia, do you have anything that you would like to say in response, or do we have any further questions at the same time?
I just wanted to say that I really enjoyed working on this paper. So thank you for giving me access to the data and everything.
The more people that can look at this stuff and can start sifting through it, the better. Because yeah, it's bigger than one person or two people or three people. So it's great to have fresh eyes looking at it and people approaching these things from different perspectives. We don't have anything left other than to thank Giulia for a stellar presentation and to move on to our next presenter.